Are you struggling to play your saxophone in the lower register or playing a lower saxophone like a tenor or bari? I have advice for you. So I struggled the first time I played bari to play the low end of my instrument. I really couldn't play anything like below a low A or a middle A, excuse me. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to figure this out. Um, and being in middle school, I didn't really have all the resources that I do now. So I just kind of had to, I asked around, figured it out, kind of type of thing. And here are some of the things that I still do to this day that helps me like control my breath support, my embouchure, all those kinds of things when I'm playing low note. So first things first, if you have a hard time just like getting it up to speak in general, consider this like chromatic exercise, right? So let's say you're really comfortable playing a G, but you really struggle to play a low E, right? If you can play from G to E chromatically and hold an E, it'll get you better at playing an E by itself. So if I start in a G and go down to an E, right? I'm just holding that E. I might not be able to play it on its own yet, but if you can hold it after you work your way down, that'll help you internalize it with the breath support and where it is, in your embouchure and your throat position. And that way you can play it later on. You got to practice that. Same thing with like a low C. If I can play low E now, but I'm struggling to play low C, same thing. Hold that low C out as long as you can. It'll work on your breath support. I'd say now, great, I can play low notes, but I can only play them super loud. What do I do? How am I able to practice them softer, or play them softer? How does that work? Start by playing it at a good volume where you can maintain. So like if I'm struggling to play low C quietly, I'll play it loud. And then I'll back off of it to a point where I start to lose the note, right? So it starts to not sound good. And hold that point right before you start to lose that note. Hold that spot. So it'll sound like this. And just hold it. And that'll kind of, like I said, that'll teach your body, teach your muscles what to do to get that, to support the note, but not play it as loud as possible. And you're not gonna make that a jump that far initially, right? You're not gonna be able to go, wow, and play it super soft. The first couple of times, you're gonna lose it like right after you try and decay, and that's okay. You got to practice it. I had to practice it. Everybody has to practice it. It's just how it works. But that'll help you be able to play soft. You can do it with any note, really. If you're struggling to play a high note softly, you can do it too. But I use it for low notes. Other thing is, if you're having trouble like moving around in the low end, my suggestion is maybe just try and play more on the lower register of your instrument. Like just spend more time practicing it. So if you consistently play like in the middle or upper, or like reading etudes or doing scales, try and read it down the octave, or try and do like intervals. So let's say you always have trouble playing something coming from a low C. Start on a low C and work your way up to a G or a C above it, using intervals. So I'm not perfect. I just crack some of those notes, but that's okay. Like that's what you practice, right? And then do the same thing like chromatically, maybe. Work way up and down. Start from a G and go down to a low C or something, right? All that's doing is that's kind of, like I said, you're just working in that low end. The more you can work on that low end with a good tone and a good support, the easier it'll be to play when you're on a gig or at a concert or you're reading with your buddy or something like that. So those are just like some of the tips that I kind of think about while I'm playing low notes. The other big one, which I struggle with to this day, is hearing the note before you want to play it. So if you're reading a chart, reading something, and there's a big, like it drops and there's a lower end, or it goes really high in the higher end, right? So a lot of the times, if I'm just playing, I'm not hearing it in my head. I have a really hard time hitting it, right? So I don't know if I'm going, right? I'm trying to jump up to a high D. Sometimes I'll be so caught up in playing fast or playing loud that I'm not internally hearing that high D, and so when I hit it, I like frack it or do that or whatever. So if you can, higher, low end, middle, it doesn't matter. If you can hear the note before you play it, that'll help you play it. And with breath support, with hitting the note right, being in tune, all those kinds of things. So those are like my biggest tips and kind of like exercises that I use to play the low end of my instrument. Again, I play the bari, so I'm always kind of in the low end. If you play alto and you just wanna, you want to be able to play tenor, do this on tenor. You don't have to be doing this in the low end. If you're struggling just to play like normal notes on a lower saxophone, just use those exercises. If you struggle to play a middle C, but you can play a high E, start in the high E, work your way down to middle C. It doesn't matter. Everyone's just trying to get better at the end of the day. So don't worry about what you can and can't do yet. If you're putting in time, things will come. So those are my tips and tricks. If you guys have any other things you want to hear or songs you want to hear me play, feel free to comment. I'd love to do that for you. I just like playing my horn. So thanks for watching.